Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody can hear me clearly. I'm Alfia Tarannum, a research scholar of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Indore, India, particularly working in the field of consumer behavior, sustainability marketing, artificial intelligence. I'm genuinely privileged to be a part of this conference and share my work with esteemed faculty present in the audience. The title of my research paper, which I'm going to present today, is AI-driven sustainability and purchase intention in food and beverage industry, the sequential role of brand credibility and customer trust. So let me start by something which we see on our daily life, food and beverage industry, which feeds the world. This industry remains one of the world's largest contributor to food wastage, carbon emission, greenhouse effect, and supply chain inefficiencies. But in the last few years, what has changed is that the brands are aggressively deploying machine learning to predict demand, intelligent inventory system to reduce spoilage, and algorithm to actually lower the carbon emission. But the heart of the research lies in a question which is unknown. That is, when a customer learns about these invisible operational upgrades, as in integrating AI into the operational activity of a brand towards sustainability, so, does it change how credible they find the brand? Does it build trust among the customers? Does it drive purchase intention? Honestly, the research has not answered this. Moving on to the next slide, which says why this study was needed. Why did we do this research? So, because of the first gap, which is update gap, that is, the previous and the existing research were only talking about the conventional way of sustainability and how customer perceives those initiatives, as in eco-friendly labels, CSR campaigns, green packaging. But none of the studies did study about how AI-driven operational sustainability initiative actually proves to be a signal of credibility associated, and that is how the customer perceives it. Talking about the second gap, which we found was absence gap. So every studies were talking about brand credibility in isolation, either the customer trust, transparency, greenwashing risk, every other construct were studied in isolation. But in our research paper, we have integrated all the 5 construct together to come up with a complete model so as to understand how does the psychology of a human works. How does a perception towards AI-driven sustainability initiatives, specifically from the perspective of operational activity, has an impact on the customer's purchase intention. Talking about the third gap, which is contradiction gap, which is some of the studies on one side is talking about a sustainability perception actually builds brand credibility and trust. But at the same time, on the other side, the studies were talking about how greenwashing risk is destroying that particular brand credibility which was being built by sustainability. So our research paper will provide a boundary condition, as in how, in what conditions does AI-driven sustainability initiative will have an impact or maybe enhances brand credibility, and in what condition does it destroy. So we have included both the moderators, the transparency, and at the same time, the greenwashing risk together. Moving on to the next slide, which is the proposed framework. Now, talking about the proposed framework, if you see on the screen, we have a complete model which talks about how a customer perception of AI-driven sustainability enhances perceived brand credibility. So when a customer perceives that company is genuinely working or integrating or maybe investing a huge amount of money on integrating their operational activity with the artificial intelligence, so working towards sustainability, then that definitely creates or maybe give them a signal of credibility. So when a customer perception about AI driven operational sustainability is positive and they definitely see it in a positive light, that enhances and that has a positive impact on perceived brand credibility. People start trusting a particular brand, a trust is associated, people start believing that the brand has expertise to actually justify what they have promised. And accordingly, it enhances the customer trust, because I cannot trust something I don't find credible enough. So definitely when we are talking about customer trust formation, it has to go through perceived brand credibility. And the sequence mediation will finally end up into purchase intention. Now, the point is, in the framework, we have also included two moderators, wherein perceived transparency, when a brand is very transparent with the kind of initiative that they have taken towards sustainability, how they have genuinely integrated AI into their operational activities, which is a back-end process, right? But when a brand is very transparent about their approaches and they come up with a third-party verification, they come up with QR codes where the customer could see it by themselves, what kind of initiative, what kind of sustainability initiative, what kind of integration the companies are investing into by incorporating AI into their operation and making the world more green. So basically, they are working towards sustainability. If the brands are very transparent with their approach of their achievements, then definitely it will enhance the relationship between customer perception of AI-driven sustainability initiative and brand credibility. But when we talk about greenwashing risk, it definitely weakens the relationship between customer perception of AI-driven sustainability initiative and perceived brand credibility. Why? Because greenwashing risk is not a campaign problem. It's a company reputational problem. So if a customer, they perceive that a brand is over exaggerating or maybe claiming something they are not doing, then definitely it will weaken the relationship which you see on the screen, that is a relationship between perceived brand credibility and customer perception of AI driven sustainability. Now, moving on to the next slide, which talks about the theoretical grounding. Now, each theory covers a different part of the model. None are redundant. So every framework, that every construct, every relationship between the variables, between the dependent and the independent variable, between the moderators and the mediators we were talking about in the previous slide, has a theoretical grounding to it. Everything is on the basis of the systematic literature review that we have done of the Scopus indexed research papers. So under theoretical grounding, if you can see on the screen, there are 5 theories on which we have justified the relationship between the variables. So if I talk about signals theory, definitely if a company is investing huge amount of money into their operational activity, into integrating artificial intelligence into their operational activity to working towards sustainability, then that definitely adds up to the cost. So definitely they will not fake it, and customer will accordingly perceive it as a genuine initiative being taken by the brand, and that actually gives them a signal of credibility. Talking about the SOR model, so the human psychology works on this framework wherein stimulus, that is the AI driven sustainability initiative, that is a signal, that is a stimulus that they have come across. Accordingly, it will enhance your organism, that is, it will enhance the perceived brand credibility and customer trust associated with it, and end up into a response that is purchase intention. Talking about the third, trust theory, again, I will not trust something I don't find credible enough. So again, this is being justified. The sequential mediation relationship again is justified through this theory of planned behavior, CAB model. That is, cognitive is something I am thinking, or I think that AI-driven sustainability initiative definitely enhances brand credibility. But trust is something I believe. So after thinking, I will start believing that credibility is associated with the kind of initiative that the brand is doing. So CAB, and finally behavior is I end up buying, or maybe I have an intention to buy, because now I not only think that they are credible enough, the brand is credible enough, the brand is trustworthy enough, I actually even believe that they have the expert to justify what they have promised. Moving on to the next slide, which talks about the 7 theoretical propositions. So all propositions that you see on the screen are grounded in established theoretical framework and supported by evidence from a systematic review of Scopus Index journal studies that we did. So this has already been explained And the relationship between the independent and the dependent moderators and the mediators is already being explained in the framework. Talking about what does our paper contributes to? So one contribution is we came up with a very novel independent variable construct. That is, every other studies were talking about the conventional way or human managed way of sustainability by just coming up with eco-friendly product, labels, or maybe CSR perception, CSR campaigns and green marketing. And that is how they are trying to influence the customer and creating an impact. But here, in our particular research, we have come up with a very novel independent variable, that is AI-driven operational sustainability initiative, which is actually impacting the customer perception, and further it enhances the brand credibility, because this concept is something which is new, and the studies which has been conducted is only talking about the traditional and the conventional way of sustainability or a human managed way of sustainability. Talking about the second contribution that our paper does here is a sequential mediation architecture. So every other paper we're talking about brand credibility or customer trust in isolation. In our paper, we have actually justified that trust could not be built when customers do not associate credibility with a brand. So if there is a formation of trust, it has to go through brand credibility. The third contribution that our paper did was a resolution of a literature contradiction. That is, we introduced perceived transparency and greenwashing risk, simultaneously opposing moderators on the same path of customer perception of AI-driven sustainability and brand credibility. So both of these moderator, one will justify why it works, why customer perception of AI-driven sustainability initiative enhances brand credibility, and in what circumstances it does not enhances brand credibility. Now, talking about the implication, what kind of implication does our paper contributes to the brand managers? So one of the implication is investment strategy. So the brand should definitely invest, or maybe in fact think rigorously on investing on AI and integrating it to their operational activity, working towards sustainability, towards food waste reduction, towards carbon tracking, intelligent inventory, because these are very strong credibility signal for a customer. Because investing in such huge amount of money into all these operations, a brand could not fake. So definitely people or the customer associate brand credibility with such kind of initiatives. So it's not just the claim that you are coming up with as eco-friendly packaging or maybe CSR campaign. You are actually justifying, you are actually making the promises come to real. Talking about the second implication, that is leveraging transparency. So definitely a vague claim of AI powered or maybe data driven, they do not reduce information asymmetry. You have to be specific. You have to come up with verifiable sources, regularly updated disclosure about how your sustainability, how your AI sustainability operations work. Talking about the third implication, that is mitigating greenwashing. So greenwashing is definitely a reputational problem. It's not a campaign problem. So, and this can only be fixed through genuinely coming up with a very transparent approach, that is third-party verification and a very honest communication about your limitations and whatever achievements that a brand does. So definitely it could not be fixed through a better advertisement. You have to be very transparent in terms of your communication with your customer, and coming up with maybe a QR code where the customer can have an access to every other details of how the raw materials are being sourced, what kind of sustainability initiative that you are taking by integrating AI into your system. Coming towards the end of our presentation, talking about the limitation and future research direction, definitely we have to, we can go ahead with an empirical test on this particular framework. The framework which we have proposed here could be empirically tested. And for that, the researchers could use PLS-SEM with a minimum sample of 300 to 350, basically the food and beverage customer in urban market with AI-driven sustainability adoption is sufficiently visible. Talking about the future research direction, wherein greenwashing risk, perceptions, and transparency expectations, that varies across customer market, and that varies across eco-friendly, eco-conscious customer. So definitely, future research can give a direction to that. And the third one is sector replication, whether to test that the framework that we have provided, the sequential mediation finding that we have provided regarding perceived brand credibility and trust, and further it is landing up to purchase intention, is that applicable to every subsectors of food and beverage industry, that is packaged food, if I talk about quick service restaurant, food delivery platforms. I'll take a pause so that everybody could absorb what they see on the screen. So to sum up the entire presentation, and the main motive behind our research was operational AI, or maybe integrating or deploying AI rigorously into the operational activity to working towards sustainability, definitely to reduce food waste, track carbon emission, optimize inventory. With that, we need to club it up with transparency. We have to come up with third-party verification and very honest communication regarding the limitations and achievements, verifiable disclosure, and that will further lead to brand credibility and customer trust. So AI creates impact, transparency builds trust, and together they create lasting value. Thank you very much. I look forward to your questions.